Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome back, gamers. Got another Yu-Gi-Oh! Tier list video. I can't stop making these for some reason. So, I got hand traps this time. So, I did omit a few of them from my last list because either they do not have the usage case to be used right now, or they are just outright bad, or they are archetyped locked. For example, Rescue Ace, for example, Impulse is locked, for example, or Airlifter, of course, or the Gammas. I would put Gamma. He'd probably be up on the top tier. Amazing, of course, but we only got one Gamma, so yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go over each one real quick. So I do have the biggest elephants in the room: Fualas, Perulia, and Shifter. So I will say these about these three right here. I won't call them the big three, but I do think that these cards are one of the few that are format warping, in a case that your deck has to have game plans around each of these cards specifically. For example, Memento has amazing lines under both Fualas and Perulia. They give them at most 3 draws, right? And can play through them. However, the deck has no game plan under Shifter, as any card that has to be specifically sent to the graveyard will not trigger. Alright, that kills a lot of decks. And because of that, there are some decks that kind of want to play Shifter because they don't care if their stuff gets banished, right? Malice, some decks main deck Shifter, as the Malice stuff does do come back if they are banished. But there are also, it does also kill off some access to some of their extra deck, of course. And again, we are getting one more for more Charmy in the coming future when Supreme Darkness drops come January. I want to say January, as I believe if it's not January, it's February, but February is the blue-white structure deck. Anywho, I do keep these as the big 3, I guess, right? Right here at the top. No material. Well, I put it in here because it's funny, but no material. It's not good enough, but it's still good in the right cases. If you're playing like a draft, right, and you have a no material, it's pretty good, you know. I've also put Saravis in here. Saravis, it is kind of just locked with Voiceless Voice, and it is searchable, right? Because it is a light dragon ritual monster, and Voiceless Voice can search that, which is great, but it only just protects targeting, and a lot of decks really don't target as much anymore, you know. Malice doesn't really target. The Rizal stuff does have some targeting, right? But because of a lot of the stuff that they have, they can just break through a lot of boards very easily. So Saravis just can't. It's just one time, right? I do like Saravis as a concept, though, as a ritual monster that can be used as a hand trap, and it does have a neat effect as well. Next up, I do got Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. I'm gonna leave her right here at the top because it did have that one funny finals where it was Ritual Beast versus Tenpai. They dropped Ghost Sister and they kept special summoning, and at that point it's just like they can't kill him. He had like almost 50,000 life points, and it was like it's basically just pray that they couldn't kill him at that point. It was very funny. But nowadays, a lot of decks are easily able to just OTK through almost everything, and I mean the life point game is almost non-existent. I mean, I would love to play this in Malice because it circumvents the life point costs, but we have other ways to deal with that. Next up, I do got Ghost Moaner right here. Great. Still a fantastic card, of course, right? It is a negate, and it burns to punish your opponents if they do stuff. I don't think Ghost Moaner would see a whole lot of play now. I do think that the time for Moaner has come and gone, but I do think it will still see some pretty decent amount of play. It's still very fantastic in certain matchups, especially against the Malice matchup, because if they get too low and you drop Mourner on them, at that point, it's just, ooh, do they really want to pay that much, right, to link off one of the link 3s? I don't think so. I got Imperm. Imperm, still fantastic. It's one of the few. It's still fantastic. An amazing trap card. Activate from a hand. It can negate spells and traps in a column if it was set, of course, right? This dodges Called by the Grave or any monster negates. It's still great. Do think it's one of the best hand traps right now. Of course, you can have that with Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom stops virtually everything that searches, sends, adds, right? It's still great, although it is losing some of its corner case. There are some corner cases where some decks kind of just ignore Ash Blossom. Voiceless Voice, as I mentioned earlier, low places the spells and traps face up, which bypasses Ash Blossom's effect. Of course, it's still a fantastic card, and it does have more cases now because it does have to deal with Perillia, it does have to deal with Full Loss. Still a fantastic card to run. I definitely, and because of the numerous reprints it got in Rarity Collection and the structure decks, they're all common. It's much more affordable now, so it's a great card. I do like Ghost Ogre coming in now. A lot of stuff. I do like Ghost Ogre now. A lot of stuff, a lot of cards really just leave. It's just the idea with Ghost Ogre is that while it doesn't negate the effect, it does destroy the card it activates. So, in a really good choke point, it could just stop certain plays, and it helps them preventing from certain getting linked to. It's like the Rizos, if they send an Xyz, right, to summon and then they search, it could just drop an Ogre on them. They get their search, but they don't lose the body on the field. So I do like that aspect. Of course, there's other decks still running about. Yubel's still running about, right? Stopping the field spell, the continuous spell. It's still good hits. I do think Ogre's in a good position now, as it was before. I do got Veiler up here as well. Still the same deal. My only main problem with Veiler is that it has to be sent to the graveyard as cost. So under Shifter doesn't work. You can still get hit by the Called by. Still be hit by Crossout, which I do have in these lists, but I'll get to them in a second. Veiler's still good, and it's also not once per turn, so you could just keep dumping Veilers if you somehow draw 3 of them, right? I do like them fantastically. It's a very good card. I do think after Imperm, I probably would have Veiler as my next hand trap. If I do, let's say I want 12, right? I definitely put Veiler right there as the third option. I do got Nibiru. I do think Nibiru is pretty good right now. A lot of decks now is they go through so many summons that once you find a good choke point, if they don't have a negate up by then, it's good to drop the rock, because now they have to find a way to recover from a Nibiru. There are both Malice and Rizzo can play through Nibiru. They do have some lines to recover from it, but a really good time Nibiru is the worst thing ever. You look at your opponent and he just throws that thing at you. You know, go, and it's just oh, hurts. It sucks. It real sucks. Now, I do got Crossout here, and I think Crossout's in a very good spot. With the amount of non-edged everyone's running, right? The 18 hand traps, the 20 hand traps, of course. I do think Crossout does deserve a spot, because it's, if you are presumably running the same amount of hand traps as everyone else, right? You probably have a good idea to just like, okay, I'll just hand trap this at the right time. If you're on a mirror, of course, right? Because like, oh, I can just activate this, negate whatever he's on running, right? Of course, it doesn't hit extra deck, but hitting main deck, it's pretty good. If you're both running one of the Multi-Armies, you can just negate the Multi-Army they're activating, or they can negate your Ash, so you can, right? You can negate the Imperm, stuff like that. I do think Crossout's in a good spot right now, and having multiple targets as well, right? You don't have to play sets. Few people have been just running the one-ofs as just Crossout targets in case their opponent is running it. I do get Lancia. Lancia is like one of the main Malice counters, as both players cannot banish for the rest of their turn. Very good. But other than that, it doesn't really have any cases of where else should we use them. I do remember Lancia's were being talked of as a counter to catch Tira, right? But it saw maybe like a week of play, and that was basically it. I feel bad, but I do think Lancey is a very good card too. But it's just like, oh damn, everyone was hyping up Lancius. It saw like a week of play, and it's just like, well, I kind of don't want to play it if I'm on the mirror, you know. So there's that. I do got both Magma Hut and Pizza Hut here. I'm gonna put them down great. They are still fantastic cards on their own. They're both 2500 attack, which is really good for a level 6, of course. That should be probably not even a standard, but like that should be just like a main line for any monster above level 5, right? Magma Hut such as Jerusalem is being a send where it doesn't have to destroy. It's still fantastic. It is pretty bad against the Malice matchup because if they do banish your Malice, they can just summon it again, and it's just, damn, what did I do to deserve this, right? All my work to banish a card, and it's just, damn it, they're still extending. But I do think they're still really good right now, especially in Dragon League brews. Even though we haven't seen much of them, I do think they're still around because they're still good. Baldric would be here too, but I couldn't get a decent image of Baldric. But Baldric would be right next to these two. Now I do got Ghost Bell. Ghost Bell, it's always been in a weird spot. A lot of decks have been utilizing the graveyard as essentially a second hand or a second deck, essentially, where it's just, damn, I got a 1 effect here, and then I got 2 effects in my graveyard, or I got 3 effects in my graveyards. Essentially, the game has evolved to where your graveyard is essentially your second hand in deck, where you would just play off of your graveyard sometimes as well, depending on what cards you've sent, what cards you have in your hand, etc. Ghost Bell isn't really good right now because the top 2 decks don't necessarily care about the graveyard as much as some people think. Now, we still do have to deal with Snake Eyes and some Ubel stuff, right? But I think they are gonna have as much representation compared to Malice and Ryzel. And because of that, I don't think Bell has any justification in being in the main deck. Now, side deck, of course, I probably would run it just depending on what you're running up. You're not going to get Malice and Ryzel matchups all the time, of course, right? So you might get the random rogue matchup where it's like, oh, they do need the graveyard. Oh, well, I might as well use Bell, right? You could Bell one of the Druid's rooms, by the way, so I would say that it's a good choice there. Called By is still a fantastic card. We still at 1, but hey, stopping any problematic card, any hand trip that they got, right? Still a fantastic card. Use it in the right circumstances, it's great. But remember, we do only have the 1, and I think some people want to save their call bar for like the most important card to hit, you know. I do got Droll here as well. Droll's still very good. A lot of decks still have been searching. Both Malice and Ryzel searched a decent amount, and so because of that, Droll kind of hinders it. There are some lines where you could play on the Droll, but they're not going to make the most effective end boards, of course. Droll is still a powerful card, and remember, it's reciprocal. So, if you activate a Moltarmi, and you've been drawing cards, your opponent drops a draw on you, that not only does it stop your draws, it stops their searches too. So, you just shit out of luck at that point. But hey, I'm just saying, still great. Ghost Reaper, Winter Cherries. I do think it could have some use in the mirror match, of course. Being able to banish your opponent's extra deck face-up is really powerful, as it gives you not only information of what your opponent is running, but it also just tells you, it's like, okay, if that's how many they're running, then I don't have to worry about that at all. They now have to worry about, like, they have to go through their other separate game plans in case plan A is gone. You have to go to plan B, and then plan B is gone, they're going to have to go plan C. And I do think that with a lot of the mirror matches that we're going to have up in this coming format, I do think Winter Cherries might see some good play. But I don't think it's worth running in the main deck or side deck at the moment. Now, I do have these last 2 traps. Dominus Purge is fine. I think it's okay. It is just Ash Blossom number 2, but it does lock you out of, I believe, fire. Let me just remind myself. I believe it is fire, water, and dark. So, Malice doesn't really want this, as all the main deck Malice stuff are fire. But Ryzeal, oh wait, no, are they fire? They're light thunder, no, light pyro and fire thunder. Yeah, okay, they don't want this either. It's still a good card though, right? If you don't activate it in the hand. But Impulse is just much better. Impulse is just much better. Negates any effect that will special summon a monster. Still great. Still great. Locks you out of light, wind, earth. So the 2 main decks don't really care about those attributes. So you kind of want to play Impulse over Purge. I do think Purge is right here between the. It's like borderline. Like I'll put it like right here if I could, right? And of course, I do have evenly matched. A lot of decks don't really have as much omnis as some other decks do. They don't also have any game plans as to deal with a evenly matched where all their cards get banished face down. I do think that some decks do benefit off of evenly because it takes away a whole lot of stuff off of your shoulder. It's also a very good board breaker. I was debating on putting evenly in this, but I decided as like, well, I can activate it from my hand, of course, like Imperm. So I guess I'll let this one slide. I do like evenly a lot. I have been using a lot more evenlies nowadays compared to some of these other hand traps because it just feels, not only does it feel good to have your opponent banish a lot of stuff, but it feels nice knowing that's like, okay, they can't react to my evenly. I'm just gonna banish the whole field, well, as much of the field as I can. So I do like it. I do like it. In terms of this list isn't really tiered. I would just in order per se. I would just keep them as like, okay, it's here, here, and here. The only ones I say are tiered would be like these here. Although I am liking Imperm a little bit more than Ash Blossom right now, but I do think it's like this here. There are, of course, again, more hand traps out there, but of course they're either locked to an archetype, it has lost its time and place, or I just don't think it should be deserving of this list. Anywho, here's my list. Feel free to rag on me, call me an idiot in comments, whatever. Tell me why you think one hand trap is better than the other. Please, I would love to hear your arguments. I actually would love discussions. Again, thank you all for watching. Next time I'll probably do I guess staples and board breakers, you know, like Dark Ruler, all that stuff. I'll probably do that too. I will talk to you guys next time.